What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to today's video. Gonna be, as you saw by the title, we're gonna be talking about my 34-pound transformation over these last 36 weeks it's been. So I've been, if you're new to the channel, I've been prepping for a bodybuilding season. So typically as a natural, you do a long dieting phase and then you'll compete in a season of shows, because as a natural, you don't want to maintain such a low body fat percentage because your testosterone's really low, you're kind of grumpy, you're not performing well. So it's kind of like opportunity cost of gains you could be making. So you want to be efficient, get dieted down, get it done, and then take a 3+ year off season to make gains on that, and then also get your normal hormone levels back up and your normal performance body fat. So I've been dieting the last 36 weeks. I've already competed 3 times, and the next time is going to be, that would be in 3 days from when I filming this part, but it's actually 4 days from this actual physique update when I filmed the posing session, which you'll see soon. But competed 3 times, got 3 second places, missed my pro card by 1 placing in 2 of those shows, and the person who beat me in my weight class the first show went on to win the overall, but I don't think I was second overall in that show. But it's been a good bodybuilding journey. It's been challenging. It's been I want to say fun, but it has been challenging, and it has been a really good learning experience, and it's allowed me to grow a lot. So without going too much, I guess, in depth, before we'll go talk about some of the things I've been experiencing throughout this process. And also I want to show you guys, especially if you're new, like what 30 pounds of weight loss looks like. Primarily fat loss, because again, as a natural, you got to take weight loss very slowly because you have to preserve your muscle mass. If you're doing too aggressive and just losing 3 pounds a week, once you're getting really lean, your body has such little amount of body fat stores that it's kind of withholding those. It's more giving of muscle mass if you're going too aggressive. So that's why this has been a 9-month dieting journey. So yes, I'm very excited to eat on Sunday. But let me roll the clips, and I'm going to show you a little bit of my posing practice, and we're going to be comparing November, September, and my March physiques. So I'm going to roll that right now. And here I am in my office doing a front relax. On the left, you can see that is my March physique. So on the right, I weighed in at 190.6. Those are my measurements right now after losing 36 pounds. Me on the left too, I didn't have too much practice posing. On the right, I have been doing posing practice. Those are all my starting measurements, so definitely a lot bigger prior to losing all this weight. But also don't forget, with that circumference, that measurement, there's a lot of fat that goes into those. So there's the net differences. Lost almost 34 pounds, lost over 1 inch on the arms, almost 3 inches on my chest, waist, ass, quads. And even though I started training calves, they still lost, there's a net loss overall in inches, just because again, there's like fat there that is no longer there. So you can also see a big depiction of leanness for bodybuilding is quad separation, and then also in the glutes. So you saw on those side relaxed poses, there was a little bit of striations there. That is a big sign of leanness when competing in natural federations. I've kind of gotten to that goal level of leanness that I've been looking for, having those outer striations, but maybe TMI, but my left cheek came in, my right cheek isn't like fully striated, so there's still fat loss to be had in the context of bodybuilding. I wouldn't recommend dieting recreationally this lean. This is the front lat spread. As you can see on the left, there it is. Just not a lot of quad separation on in the March photos. Definitely look bigger. An in-body scan told me I was 10% body fat, and a recent in-body scan at this weight told me I was like 5.6 or 5.8% body fat. How much value I give that, I don't really know. That right there on the right was actually my September physique update. So that was, I think I was at 204. So 14 pounds heavier. This is the side tricep pose. Yes, side tri. Something I'm practicing is kind of like showing more of my tricep, and that makes me pull my shoulder kind of more in front of my body. So it's kind of been a difficult pose for me. I used to, as you saw in that previous frame, pull it really far behind me. Here is the, of course, back double bi. And you can see a difference between all these photos. In both the ones where I weigh more, you can see definitely just more density, it looks like overall. But something also that's going on is I am squeezing my glutes, because glutes really shows like how lean you are. So that kind of like doesn't allow me to retract as far back when you're really squeezing there and get my like Christmas tree, my lower back to show. And then you also saw just all the measurements and how they decrease over the process of these 9 months. I did another physique update that was in, I believe, July, but I feel like the big like checkpoints were like March, the beginning, kind of that 204 physique, which was probably my favorite physique just to walk around all around, 205-ish, 210, 215, felt really good, and just felt like I looked my best. But for bodybuilding, you don't want to look too good just like walking around and everything. You kind of want to look a little bit too skinny, because on the stage, those little differences in cuts will show. So as you can see here, my hamstrings, my glutes, those are really where you're seeing those differences between my my 204 physique and this physique. And also you'll see probably with more of the back pictures, and also towards the upper part of my quads, you can see there's a little bit more separation there. And that's really what you're trying to do when you're trying to get that elite level of leanness to win bodybuilding shows. We're not just trying to look good on the beach, we're trying to look good on the stage, which is two completely different things. And I've noticed for me, it's probably like 15-20 pound difference in overall body weight. This is another most muscular. We did the crab most muscular before this. That was hands on hips most muscular. This is the clasp most muscular. And then we're gonna finish up with the last one is gonna be the hands over head ab. I don't know the names of these too well. Can you tell I've competed 3 times? But I also had to change this one up a little bit. I used to like kind of raise my toe, as you see on the right, but I feel like I'm able to engage better doing it this way, kind of like with that flat forward foot. But that's the physique update part of the photo. I mean, this video. I wanted to show you like kind of the different stages and like how visual. I'm 6'2", so it is more distributed than most. Me losing 30 pounds, it's gonna be stretched out through a 6-foot frame. If Nicole loses 5 pounds, she's like 5'2". If she loses 30 pounds, it's gonna be more condensed and more visual. So that is kind of how my journey's been these past 9 months in dropping this weight. That's kind of the differences, and it's really interesting to me personally to see the difference between 204 and 190. There isn't that much difference, like me posing in, of course, my office, except that I do look a little bit smaller. There's minor details that are a little bit more etched. Of course, glute striations, those come in a little bit more. And that's where you really see, like, that's why those are the things that are focused on a bodybuilding stage and you're really judged by, because those are the things that come latest in terms of dieting. Would I recommend going all the way down? For me personally, I mean, think of this all relative to you. Me dieting down to contest leanness at 190, 190, 195, I wouldn't recommend just walking around here, because one, performance is gonna suffer. And I wrote a couple things down that I wanted to cover. Is I noticed when I dipped under 205 probably, I was more lethargic, more fatigued. And I think like that was the real breaking point where I was like, ooh, I really just want to lay on the couch a little bit more. Training hasn't really taken too much of a hit. Of course, I've been moving through training blocks, and I haven't noticed too much strength loss overall, but I think I've been sticking more to machine things and exercises, and less so like my bench press, a barbell squat. I haven't been doing those necessarily, but dumbbell press, I've been doing that. Other exercises like lat pull downs, none of those have really come down too much, honestly. So I'm feeling happy about that and really excited for making progress on those following this whole contest prep once I start gaining some weight back. Another thing in terms of being contest lean, libido, that is pretty non-existent. I'm more excited to look at rice cakes right now than my girlfriend, but it's what it is at this point. Sorry, Nicole. But it just be like that. At this point, you're just like, I mean, just think about it with your body. Like when you're near contest lean, your body is literally like kind of starving, and it's like, okay, I prioritize food more than reproducing at this point. So it's just kind of the priorities of our bodies. Coldness is something that people usually say that they feel a lot of. I'm in this very warm sweatshirt in my office. Usually it's pretty warm in here, and I notice I sweat in here. So I can't say that I felt that too crazy much, but I think it may have just been like the changing of seasons in New Jersey. It's colder out anyway, and maybe just like going from summer, because again, this has been 9 months. I've just kind of associated that with the change of season. So haven't felt that too much, but I have been wearing like winter hats in the office and like hoodies. But again, it's just colder. So I don't know if I felt that too crazy much. Grumpiness, totally have felt that. You were a little shorter temper, especially on the depletion days where I was at like 1,680 calories. I noticed that I was a little bit shorter. When I was on my work days, things didn't go my way. Definitely felt like it was more frustrating than it usually would be. Like, if you guys have been watching my channel, usually I try to stay pretty optimistic, but like, I know one of my depletion days, on like one of my busiest work days, I just had like 3 things go wrong, and I was just like a lot more frustrated than I'm used to being. So I noticed that I am a little bit shorter at that point. And a lot of these things that I felt, like the fatigue, definitely that was something serious. Grumpiness wasn't until the later stages. Nicole said there was always like maybe under 205, there's a baseline, like maybe like I'd be a little bit quicker to react with some things. But then I feel like I really felt it like during those last couple weeks of dieting, like after 30 weeks, when it was on those really depleting days. Because on these peak weeks, you have 3 days of real low calories. Like for me, it was like 50 fat, 50 carb, 250 protein, and that kind of range. And those 3 days, I actually acutely felt like, just not the best. But when the carbs came up later in the week, I did feel better, which is kind of interesting. And then let me tell you guys a little bit about the size versus muscle loss. So what we saw there, especially in the physique part of the video, you saw that a lot of my the measurements came down. Is that all that size lost? Because I know a lot of my measurements was like chest, waist, quads, ass, glutes, lost like 3 inches everywhere. Does that mean I lost muscle? Not necessarily, because of course, like we have fat like around all our circumferences. If I put on 40 pounds of fat, my biceps get bigger, or the bicep measurement gets bigger. We can't say biceps for sure will get bigger, but most likely, just like when you gain weight, it's not all 100% muscle. Just like when you lose weight, it's probably not all going to be 100% fat. So probably there's some muscle loss to an extent, but overall, I feel like the majority is fat loss. And I'm excited to start getting that weight back and start getting also just that size overall back. Not fitting on like me in a cutoff does not look as good. And Nicole's like, yeah, you're more limited on your clothing selections. Now like t-shirts are the only things I really maintain size because at least they're small enough. But I'm like really falling into my like cutoff shirts and they're like hanging off me. So it's not as good a look now that I am all the way down here. So size versus muscle loss. I lost a lot of size, but I can't really say I lost a lot of muscle. But also just visually, like I don't have that kind of wow, that's a big dude look anymore. It's now kind of sucking in face, and just like the measurements aren't as big. So that's kind of the sacrifices you go with the bodybuilding prep. Maybe if I could like stopped at 205, 210, still maintain some of that fullness, but I'm still pretty lean, see some cuts. But it's once you dip under there, you're only really gaining appearance on stage, but that's the goal with this. And then let's also talk about calories, because I want you guys to know how I made this transformation, because losing 30 pounds is, that's big. I didn't expect to lose this much weight. But I know a lot of people, like maybe you're like 260 and you want to like lose 30 pounds and like, you're like, okay, like what do I do? Like people say calorie deficit, but what does that mean? How do I apply it? So for me, in my off season, or like when I was in a calorie surplus, I was eating around, I think 3,800 calories per day. And then when my day one started in March 1st, we started, and it wasn't really losing weight. It was about maintenance. It was like 3,430 calories. So 70 fat, 400 carb, 300 protein. We did have a refeed day once a week where my carbs were a little over 500 or so. But I guess like my daily average was like 3,500 calories. And that was when I was 224. And then I'll tell you, just like all the way at the end of the spectrum, you don't just go 0 to 100, but you incrementally will drop when your weight plateaus. So started out, we'll say 3,430 calories, and the lowest point, so when I was in like about 195, my lowest daily 6-day-a-week intake was 54 fat, 105 carb, 265 protein, 1,966 calories. So that was at about like 195, and that was before these peak weeks started. So Went from 3430 as my 6-day-a-week intake down to 1966. So that's almost 50%. I think it's like maybe 60% or something. I don't know the math off the top of my head. But and then now we can also talk about the depletion days. So for this peak week, if you guys saw my recent video, I was actually down to, I think it was 57 fat, 53 carb, and 239 protein. So that was like 1,680 calories. Lowest I've ever had a diet at. When I diet down to 210, which has been probably the past 2 years my like leanest ever look, I dieted pretty much on like 2,400 to 2,600 calories without a refeed day. So that's the one difference. So that's kind of to show you like how much difference probably like your maintenance / surplus calories will be, maybe your end game macros. But don't forget, this is all relative to everyone. Like if Nicole went on my end game macros where I'm starving, she's 100 pounds, I'm like 200 pounds, well now 190. She would be like super satiated at all times when I'm starving. So it's gonna be relative to you, your activity level, your size, and just all those variables, genetics of course. But just wanted to share that with you guys. So the final thought, just wanted to share this 30-pound transformation with you guys. Would I recommend digging all the way down to this low? Kind of cover this. No. The sacrifice, the opportunity cost, or just overall the trade-off of performance for me when I broke under 205 just isn't worth it. The opportunity cost of how much gains you could be making after that point, and just like how crappy you kind of feel, and also you don't really look better just like 24 hours a day until you peak and step on stage. For like one day you look pretty good. So I wouldn't really recommend it. So for me, probably I really liked how much I learned about myself during this period, and now I know probably my recreational cuts will be like to 205 to 215. In that area is where I'll be like, all right, we're summer ready, we're summer shredded, but contest shredded, it will be another like 15 pounds or so to push. So really interesting there. So that's kind of that leanness versus contest lean. That's the trade-offs that you're also going to deal with. So if you're a bodybuilder, I hope this helped you guys out. If you're someone who just wants to drop 30 pounds or just like see what that looks like, I hope this gave you a little bit of context of what you may have to do. Also something in terms of calorie intake I didn't really mention. My cardio hasn't been too crazy. Midway through I started adding like 30 minutes of walking every day, but that's also just been like walking the dogs and just something for like all around longevity and just health. And I guess that helped the weight loss process probably definitely as well. So stay active. I would say track your morning weights, track your macros, and you'll get to your goals. But that's gonna do it for this video. I am, well, from right now, 3 days out from the competition. Really excited to finish this out, hopefully look my best on stage, and then we'll get into the recovery diet, quickly get to a performance body fat range, and then from there take a long-term lean bulk where we're gonna be making some gains. So thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.